Hello, people of YouTube land. Hello to those that are part of Ted's Discord. Hello to the people who follow Ted and I on Twitch. And hello to whomever is listening to this on Spotify or wherever else we decide to put this on. I'm Traductus.
And I'm Ted.
And this is the movie review podcast where we take a director's filmography and review each movie one by one and go over the background info and we talk about what we like and dislike after Ted's done giving the synopsis of the movie. And we are covering so far, since we are covering Sam Raimi's filmography, we are so far on his final film until he makes another one. And that is Doctor Strange. And the extra long fucking title, because Doctor Strange 2 is too simple for a title. Too simple of a title for a fucking Marvel movie now. The actual title is Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, but I had a trouble remembering that.
Valid enough.
So as you can see, I was a little frustrated. I'm just like, God damn, just call it. It's like, what happened to, like, something to, but God forbid. I mean, we had trouble wondering if this is like the second Doctor Strange movie or the third one. There is no third one, but
yeah.
At least not yet. That being said, this movie was released May 2nd, 2022 at the Dolby Theater in Hollywood. And then the rest of the United States, it was released on May 6th, 2022. It had a budget of $414.9 million, and that is the gross budget, which usually, like, when I think of, like, gross and net, it's usually, like, profit as opposed to, like, budget, but whatever. The net is $350.6 million, and the box office was $955.8 million, because of course it was. It's a Marvel movie.
Real.
That being said, now this production of this movie started actually back in 2016 when the first movie came out. It was actually going to have the director from the first one, Scott Derrickson, to shit, was I gonna say? He was gonna direct it this time around, and it was gonna take some aspects of, like, the Dark Knight, and then also wanting to have, like, some horror theme with this movie, and express interest in implementing the villain Nightmare into this. He ended up getting a up-and-coming screenwriter to write the script. They had the script all done and ready, and despite the fact that Scott Derrickson kind of knew somewhat what everybody in Marvel wanted to do with, like, their next phase, but apparently that wasn't enough. And Disney, Marvel Studios basically went like, yeah, this whole script that you made isn't gonna work. So you need to rewrite the script, or, like, edit it to where it's gonna fit in with what we want to do with, like, the character Doctor Strange and everything. And so Scott Derrickson quits, and due to them actually liking the theme of actually making it kind of horror, and also like an action adventure thing, they end up bringing in Sam Raimi. Now, Sam Raimi wasn't sure about actually directing this, because he directed Spider-Man 3. It had mixed reviews, and he wasn't sure if he should do, like, another superhero movie, at least that quickly in between, which is weird because like there's a huge gap between Spider-Man 3 and this movie, but that was the excuse he was given. But he ended up saying yes to the project because he was interested in seeing how big budget movies were, since like the last movie that he made was Oz and Great and Powerful. That was a big budget movie, so he wanted to see how things changed. And due to the fact that it was a short time date, because by this time he's supposed to have everything up and running by November 2020, and it was like earlier in the year 2020 that he gets greenlit to put on. And him and script writer Michael Waldron, who gets hired, who's known for writing for Rick and Morty.
Okay.
So that's kind of weird that you have that combo in there. And at first we're like, okay, well, there's already a script made. We'll edit this. This isn't going to be that big of a challenge. It's going to be great. They read the script, and after basically hearing what Disney wants, and also going back through not only all the Marvel movies, but all the freaking series and everything, and fucking realize that what they were given in that script, they can't fucking use. So they have to write a completely new script, and they're panicking because they have a couple months away before shooting. But then COVID happens and delays everything and saves their asses.
Okay.
Like the one time you can say, like, yeah, we got delayed by COVID. Sam Raimi's like, oh, thank God. So they're able to finish the script in time by the time it got delayed so that way they could film it. That being said, due to rewatching everything, that's when they decide instead of using Nightmare, they end up using Scarlet Witch. Marvel did try having two villains just besides the Scarlet Witch. They wanted Kang the Conqueror, but luckily Elizabeth Olsen's just like, I'd rather, because Raimi and the writer are like, well, that's just going to take away from what we want to do with, Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch. It'll, steal a lot of like screen time for her. And luckily, Elizabeth Olsen came to bat with them, going like, yeah, I don't know if I want to be like not the only villain, because there's a lot of things I can do, especially after WandaVision, to expand the character. Other people, now that being said, we'll go into casting. There isn't really much decision on why certain people are cast, but I can just mention who's cast. Obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch returns as Dr. Stephen Strange, Elizabeth Olsen as Wanda Maximoff, the Scarlet Witch, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Jesus fucking Christ, yeah, Ejiofor, okay, that's what his last name is. All right, Ejiofor, as Carl Mordo, Doctor Strange's enemy, arch enemy. Benedict Wong as Wong. We have okay. Xochitl Sochi sorry. No. Oh yeah, okay, so it's Xochitl Gomez as America Chavez. They decided to have America Chavez in this because I guess she was supposed to be in early drafts of like No Way Home. Is that the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie?
Maybe. I don't know. It's one of them.
But you know what I'm saying? Michael Starberg as Nicodemus Rest. Rachel McAdams returns as Christine Palmer. And then for cameos, we have Patrick Stewart as Charles Xavier. Haley Atwell returning as, Peggy Carter. Lashana Lynch as a alternative version of Captain Marvel. We last saw Lashana Lynch in No Time to Die as, James Bond's replacement as 007. And we also have John Krasinski as Reed Richards, Jim from the fucking Office.
Hell yeah.
And of course we have the, Bruce Campbell cameo because it's a Sam Raimi movie. Which basically that's all I really got.
Okay. Well, plot's reasonably simple. Let me make sure I get this whole thing. They find a child who can jump between the multiverse. She's a brat, and then they're trying to get her home, and so they figure out how to use this power with a book, and then the Scarlet Witch also wants the book to do evil stuff, and so they just fight over some books using the multiverse, and that's it. That's the movie.
A little bit more depth than that, but yeah.
I mean, I think I nailed it. Anyway, I know Stallman. I know likes are going to be the shorter list here, so let's run it.
For the most part, this is definitely well shot. Like, obviously, like the tracking and everything that we said with like a Raimi movie. For the most part, the special effects are fine. We will get into dislikes with certain things with special effects that are really bad, but for the most part, they're definitely really good. And I do like some aspects of horror that are in this, and also acting's pretty good.
I was going to say, for the most part, the acting's okay. There's a couple parts where it's kind of campy, but for the most part, overall plus, but it is what it is. Really, the only thing I had on my list was that the CGI was good. There was nothing really that looked miserably terrible. Like everything flowed pretty well together. Like you said, it was well shot. The camera angles, the lighting was usually pretty good.
And of course, with the action scenes, you knew what was going on. It's not, fight, grunt, grunt, grunt. Oh, someone wins.
Mostly.
I forgot there is that one part where the Scarlet Witch is just like killing the Illuminati, but
yeah. I think I'm just going to jump straight into dislikes because I feel like we've got some springboards here. So the one place that I would say that's not true, Stallman, that you knew what was going on. When we watched Interstellar, do you remember the kind of confusion we have in that ending scene where Matthew McConaughey is like trapped in the fucking bookshelf of his daughter a millennium beforehand? Like, and it's just kind of like, how'd you get here and why and what the fuck is going on? There were a couple of scenes like that in this. I would say notably the dream sequence, the sequences where he's fighting himself, or when the multiverse is ripping them through several different dimensions. There's a couple places where it's just like, what the fuck am I watching and why? Visually, they look pretty. Don't get me wrong. I still think that they're like well shot from Raimi's perspective, but I think the confusion without ever explaining just for the purpose of making you uncomfortable just doesn't quite work here when the rest of this was shot as well as it was. Another part of that whole like action thing, the suspense in this movie stays high the entire time. There's no rest period. There's no meaningful dialogue. You're constantly on the edge of your seat the entire time.
Which works in some movies like Fury Road, but like in this, it really...
Well, and there's a difference between the action parts of it and the suspense, right? Like,
right.
The action's great. The action's totally fine. Fight sequences and superpowers and all that, like, it's great. It's fine. But when nothing action, like, full of action is happening and they're still just like, look, bad stuff is coming. Like, it's just...
right.
It's just kind of corny for no reason. In
that aspect, it does take away with like some aspects that are actually kind of like that would be fucking scary and terrifying, especially since like Wanda's like completely fucking snapped at this point,
Right. There's no way to like feel anything like meaningful here. It's just suspense, keep moving. draw you to the next thing. It keeps you engaged. I'll give it that much, but it's just like even the parts that are supposed to be like softer and heartfelt and some sort of like insight into characters just evaporates because you're just plowing through what's the next thing. We have to drag you to the next thing. In terms of the storytelling, I will say that this movie's ability to be independent is terrible.
That's the biggest issue with this. If you have, and I know like a lot of people say, well, you should have watched them in order. There's like 50 of these damn movies, and on top of that, you have to also watch the special Netflix, series, the series on like whatever frickin' TV thing. There's too much content. There's too much bullshit.
I will
to
say,
really follow for this to really,
I will say that it doesn't become unwatchable, right?
Right.
I think
it
that we all have.
It doesn't become unwatchable, but it does make it frustrating.
If you've never seen any of the Marvel movies, you still have enough exposure to understand what's going on, right? You have a basic understanding of the characters, right? In the opening fight sequence, you get an idea of who Doctor Strange is. Really smart guy, heartbroken, lost his wife, and also he can twist stuff around like he's a knockoff Green Lantern, right? Like, you kind of get that idea, right? As they're explaining the book process to you, you just understand that it's ancient text and it's fine and all, but like, you don't necessarily like get a grip on who the characters are. They never really introduce them to you. They just kind of like throw you into where they expect you to already be. Again,
and there's a lot of scenes where, there's a lot of scenes where it undercuts it because you would have more connection to these characters if you,
for sure,
watched quite a bit. While in this case, it's just like, well, as a standalone movie, a lot of the shit doesn't like. Why should I care? Why should spoiler? Why should the Scarlet Witch have like a redeeming ending?
And like, why do kids suddenly matter to her? Right? Like, why is this character's like emotional tie down becoming a gigantic plot point that's creating a 2.5 hour film of action and suspense? Right?
Yeah, especially since at the end you just go, fucking adopt the kid.
Well, I think the other part too is that like, if you really boil it down, much like you said, Stallman, like if what she wants is the companionship of a child, adopt a kid. I've ignored 2.5 hours of movie, and it's great. I get that the purpose is to introduce the multiverse to. Yeah, okay, great, fine, dandy, whatever the fuck. I get it. I know you have to tell the story this way, but also like the whole thing kind of fucking becomes a waste. When they're trying to figure out how to jump between the multiverse, Doctor Strange has had this figured out for 2 hours. Just believe in yourself, and then just punch the air, and we can travel the multiverse again. Like the whole thing just kind of like falls down on itself when you realize that the pieces that they needed to fucking tell their, future movies for Marvel could have been like a 2-minute Instagram reel.
Yep.
Which just kind of like really takes away from any positives you'd get in this movie, that it just boils down to not much.
Yeah. Well, especially since this movie could have been really, really good, because you can definitely see like a good movie in here. There's like a lot of, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie, but like, as in like a movie that doesn't have to really rely a whole lot on the other, movies in like the franchise. And as in like something that you could kind of compare to like the higher end of like Raimi's career, such as like a Spider-Man, like the first Spider-Man movie.
Yeah,
or
I think that like I'm trying to do this in a way that is not just like shitting on Marvel, because that's not my goal, right? But like you said, Stallman, there is too much content and there's so much that intertwines, right? Even as you were going through the background, like the reason that they have the character who can like jump through the multiverse, right? Like even that is to set up for a different franchise so that they can travel the multiverse, right? And like even I would take so much of the complaining away about all of the background that you needed if Doctor Strange was just its own entity, right? If you had, okay, here's your Spider-Man franchise and it's just Spider-Man. Here's your Iron Man series and it's just Iron Man. Here's your Hulk. Here's your, like, all of these things, right? And then they all merge together and you do the Avengers series. Great. But I shouldn't need to watch 3,000 hours worth of material to get Doctor Strange 2. Like it really takes away from this movie's ability. And admittedly, like, neither Stallman nor I are, clearly neither one of us are Marvel fans, you know what I mean? I've seen the first Doctor Strange one time. Like, it was long enough ago that I wasn't retaining it to take it into this, so we definitely get like an absolutely sanitized and bleached view of this without having any background like we did for Spider-Man 2 or 3, for example, where we watched it the week before. But like, to watch this movie independently is not unwatchable, but it's also a really tough place to jump in.
And on top of that, the first Doctor Strange, for what I remember, you didn't need the other Marvel movies to watch Doctor Strange.
Right, it was early enough in the franchise that one existed by itself. And then to sequel from that one to this one, just, man, we really fucking derailed this train.
On top...
Good.
On top of that, like, there's some parts where the CGI is so bad that it doesn't really matter if the CG's good in the next scene, just because, like, you're still focused on how, like, really, really bad certain scenes. Like, the one scene where, like, the Scarlet Witch comes out of the mirror.
Yeah,
like,
that one was bad.
That was supposed to be like this. It was supposed to be like a really, really scary scene, but it was, like, really bad CG that was, like, from, like, the ending of, like, Drag Me to Hell. Like, it was that bad. And there's a couple scenes where the CG's like that.
I don't know. It's in short bursts. I'd say overall as a whole, it was pretty good. But yeah, there are a couple places that it lapses.
But I mean, certain that there isn't really much that we can really add. Just there isn't really like much to really say about it. It's a Marvel movie that's like a step to get somewhere. And to me, at this point, I'm just like, they might as well just turn it into a television series, the entire thing.
I like I said, if you are a Marvel fan, this may sit very differently, right? Like, this may be a super well done movie when you have that background. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to take anything away from the acting or from Raimi or from the writers or whatever, right? Because I don't have that background, it is super hard to say anything other than, like, man, what a waste of time.
Yeah, and by the way, it's not like I hate Marvel or anything like that. I'm just not really into the MCU.
Yeah, once you've got 25 movies that I need to catch up on, it's a Herculean enough task that it ain't fucking happening. Nope, I'm good. All right, Stallman, let's get them ranked. Where are you putting this?
I am putting this one underneath Darkman.
I was thinking the exact same thing, as a matter of fact. It's not a bad movie. It's well shot, but Darkman is able to exist on its own, and Multiverse just simply is not.
Which is unfortunate. Like,
I think it's as simple as that. I think, like you said earlier, I think this has potential, right? I think this has the ability to be a better movie. I think all of the elements to it are there. It just, with the premise of, we're the 942nd movie in the anthology of 10,000, just makes this really fucking tough. All right.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, I think that's going to wrap us up. Short one today, but we got nothing to fucking work with because it's a sequel to a movie we didn't watch the first one of. This is going to wrap up.
Could you imagine we did that with Kill Bill 2?
No, Jesus Christ. Yeah, no, I'm good. Anyway, this is going to wrap up the Raimi sequence. We've got a couple of directors in mind, and I think we need to just get our shit together and pick one. But if you're seeing this, just know that the Sam Raimi thing has been a year in the process just because of our inability to record. So, appreciate and enjoy the effort. As always, if you guys have suggestions for directors or movie series or anything that you want to watch, drop them in the comments, because we're definitely not decided for the next one yet, but something's coming. We got a few names in mind. As always, thank you guys for watching. Feel free to check out the rest of the YouTube. There's plenty of other movie podcasts here, as well as all kinds of other content, mostly gaming stuff, but some other podcasts. If you're interested in more of our content, you can catch us both on Twitch, Stallman at Traductus and myself at Ted Green Eagles. By the time you're seeing this, we'll probably be watching somebody different, so come join us for movies. I try to post in the Discord. It doesn't always work, but if you see us all in there, it's probably what's happening. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll see you here once we pick a new director.
See ya.